I don't know very well. I'm gonna.
Live streaming is on.
I discovered that I live near Ravi. We're about 6 miles apart. Yeah, we're about 6 miles apart. So
yeah, we're quite close.
so I'm gonna lean on Ravi to help me get oriented, and then we can, I don't know exactly how to share things on Google, so he'll teach me that as well.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but that it's kind of the way I learn is to kind of get my head around the words first.
Right.
So,
no, we need that so badly. So like, it's I think it's a huge contribution.
I do think the white paper will help.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you want, you could just put it at all, just paste it to the very end of this document.
Sure.
And that would, I know it's kind of going to be a little crazy, but I'm hoping this document can be our single source of truth, and it just grows.
I see.
Together, and I'm going to try my best to keep it organized and pretty.
Sure. Sure.
It'll be like our commons.
Sure.
Okay, let's see. So what time do we need to sync this week? That one, it's right now. So that's great. And then, now I'm really curious. James, like, what do you think? So tell us more about this widget and the form. Oh, you're muted. Oh, James, you're muted.
Sorry about that. Just saying, I guess you can see it on the collab. I've added the form fields, or at least examples of theta, initial price, and kappa. And you can see how that looks. And you can hide the code if you want to simplify it and share with others. But it was really easy to do. And I think next step would be to figure out how that actually influences the graphs and the system overall using widgets. But potentially we could just use the right variable name. I didn't want to mess with the default variables, but that will update the inputs for each function. But you can find the forms I added underneath those default variables. That's pretty much it.
Can I ask you a question?
For sure.
Is this some kind of thing that I could download to my own local machine and play around with without sort of breaking anything?
Well, my suggestion would be to either just play around in the collab or make a copy and use it online to experiment. But the way you add a form field is really simple. You just go to the insert tab in the menu, and it says add form field, and it gives you options for what kind of variable and a range, if it's a slider.
But I wouldn't want to like break anything, so I can make a copy of it and be safe to not ruin anything.
Yeah, that's what I did first.
I see.
Yeah, you can just hit file and make a copy, I think, right?
It's kind of weird. I was confused because it's not just make a copy. It says save a copy in Drive.
Yeah, I see it. Okay, I got it. I'll play around.
Save a copy in Drive. Nice.
I got it. Thank you.
Okay, cool.
Sure.
I'm missing these form fields though. I don't see them. Where?
Yeah. It said I was worried about this. It says the file was updated remotely or in another tab to force the save, overriding the last update. Select save from the file menu. And I saw there's been a bunch of different updates since our last call. I didn't want to mess anything up, so I didn't force the save. But I guess I can do that if it's not too risky, or maybe you can look through the edits and see if they can be saved as well.
Yeah, I mean, if it breaks something, or we lose some comments or something, we can always just revert back. So we can, I'd say you can give it a shot. I don't know. Does that? I don't think. I mean, I can't see it.
Okay, let me just save it, and hopefully it'll show up.
Because it's just the initial theta, or sorry, default theta, default initial price, default kappa.
Yeah, and I just made new variables, theta, initial price, and kappa, and left the defaults there.
Oh, okay.
For the time being.
Nice.
But it's saving now. It should appear soon, hopefully.
Hey, Sam.
Hello.
Hey, man. Welcome back.
Sorry, I'm late.
No worries, dude. No worries. And well, just if you're interested in checking in, we had a little check-in round that was like intentions for the call, and interesting thing you learned this week about conviction voting, or about something related to this.
I have been learning about augmented bonding curves. I've read the article. Probably you. Well, it was something that I couldn't do before, and I have everything much more clear now. Also, what are those variables? The initial price, the theta, and all that stuff. And I think that there are other variables for the augmented bonding curves that are not there, but they are also important. And I don't know if you want to go ahead with them also, like to have them in some way in mind. Because the ones that you have selected regarding the bonding curves are theta, initial price, and kappa, right? There is also initial rise, which are the dice that are collected, and also initial allocation, which is the percentage. Well, it is in the collab actually.
Yeah.
And
what? Yeah.
No, it is not. It is not. It is the theta. Yeah, actually, the theta is the initial allocation. Sorry. And also we have in the bonding curves friction coefficient, which is the exit tax that it is also in the collab, but it is quite behind. Like I have seen it like default exit tax or something like that, which I think that it is also important because it's one of the parameters that are used to define what a specific bonding curve. I'm not. I don't find it right now, but it's called exit tax.
Yeah, we call it exit tribute.
Okay. Have you thought on putting that too on the simulation?
Yeah, I mean, it should be. I think it's definitely. I'm hoping that we can get a nice long list of possible inputs, and then this week actually do like a Lumio vote and pick our favorites. And maybe that'll have to happen after our next call, or maybe it can be something that we speed up as part of the glossary, so that we can define each of these terms in a way that everyone understands, so that they can. Informed voting is always the best, right? So and then we can move forward past this.
Okay, it is in the simulation around the middle of the code, yeah, and the variable is default exit tags.
Oh, you know what you can do? If you right-click that line, you can link to cell, and you can put the link. You can highlight exit tribute. I guess it's called. Well, we need to change it in the code to say tribute. And then, but then you can go to the Google Doc and
Okay.
link it there.
I don't know how to do
that. Did you right-click it and then it says link to cell?
Okay, link to cell. Okay.
It might be worth breaking down the code into various cells because those links all go to the same chunk of code.
No, absolutely. I think we can block out the code a little more. Because I also think that there are actually a few variables that have duplicates that perform the same function within a particular box of code. Like I was looking at one, Xmax and beta do the exact same thing, but Xmax is a local variable for one particular graph, one particular output, while beta seems to be more like a system level variable. They're set at the same value, perform the same function, but since they were in two different sheets, they were completely. It was kept that way. So there are a lot of these small things that we can understand when we have the whole thing in one sheet, and we can create blocks of code that perform certain functions, and we might be able to see a lot of these I guess duplications and redundancies.
Yeah. And I guess that's the question. There's been this debate on whether or not we should keep it all in the collab or if we should pull it out. I know I'm one for keeping it in the collab, but I would love to hear everyone else's opinion. Like, does anyone else think it should be taken out and we do it in a different doc, or what do you guys think?
My suggestion is to keep it all in the collab for now, but break it into a bunch of different cells, because right now it's just a few cells with a ton of code in them. And so maybe each function could be its own cell,
right.
But that might be too granular. But that would enable you to hide parts of it if you don't want to mess with them. So you don't have to hide everything at once.
I also think
I guess
it
it
will
would.
help us with documentation, and if we can find a way to link these blocks of code to, say, the stock and flow diagram, and I think in some way it'll be an interesting exercise in seeing how people can actually use cadCAD. Try to see if you can create a link between the final code and the high-level systems diagrams that Zorgam draws, so well in such a complicated way. I think that might be an interesting case study that comes out of this exercise.
Cool. What were you going to say, Nelson?
No, I was gonna say it would be a good intermediary step. You separate it enough so that's when actually we want to extract them. Then if they are in separated sections, easier.
Sure.
Okay. Cool. Okay. So for now, it sounds like, and Sam, you're cool with that too. Just keeping it all in the collab for now.
For now, yes.
Okay. Cool.
And also, Griff, I think it might be possible to separate the ABC model and the CB model if we do it this way. It might be possible to quickly extract it if we need to in the future.
Cool. Okay. Perfect. Okay. So now I can actually see the Google Colab or the form, and it seems to be working great. So, yeah, I don't know if you guys can see it where you adjust the theta, initial price, kappa.
Yeah.
Where is it?
At the top.
Ah, wow.
Yeah, it's just
Oh yeah, look at that.
changing.
That's awesome. That is
Yeah,
great, James.
yeah, it looks really easy. It's just hashtag @param.
Mm.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
really
look at
simple.
Yeah.
I haven't tried,
that.
changing it so that it actually influences the actual system yet. I just made new variables, but that should be pretty easy too.
Yeah. Well, this is great.
I mean, it seems like a great. I mean, what do you guys think? It seems like a great intermediate step at the very least, right? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Therefore.
Definitely.
Yes, I think that we can go with that.
cool. Well, maybe the Google Colab is the best place to start putting things that we can start adjusting in, huh?
So I just returned from reading an article about what is Google Colab. So it's a data science toolbox or a place to do data science with big computers, I suppose. Is that basically right? Google has given us access to their fast computers.
That's what it seems like. I mean, I don't know what kind of black magic they're using or like why they're willing to just let us like start running simulations on their servers, but like I'm not gonna look a gift horse in the mouth. Like
No, exactly. I was just trying to figure out why not. I was trying to figure out why not use GitHub, but the answer is because you're also doing the compute here.
yes,
Okay, I'm with you. I'm up to speed. Thank you.
yeah.
The black magic would be data and knowing what people do, I would guess. But I'm a skeptical kind of person. Maybe too cynical.
That's the black magic for everything we do.
Yeah. You know, they gave everyone thought they were crazy when they gave away email storage, right? Like that they just gave it away and said free email. That makes more sense than this, honestly, though, because I mean, do they really? What they're giving away here is a lot of juice, but hey, you know, we'll see. They got stuff. They can be charitable, but yeah. The main reason that we went this way was because our other option was having people download an executable and using their own computers.
I got you.
So that's this became like a solution for not having to run an executable.
Yep.
Okay. Does anyone have, or sorry, James, did you have more on this or did you have any more comments?
Well, I guess my question is how we're going to end up distributing this collab and, opening it up to a variety of implementations of it, I guess you could say, like different people having different variables. So it's not everyone editing the same collab if they want to use it for their own purpose. You'd have to just like document how to make a copy and then do it from there. But that's just a communication challenge, I guess.
Yeah. Good call. Good call. Because obviously, if two people start trying to change the same collab, you're gonna have a problem. Yeah. And so I think I have a feeling we were gonna do some sort of authentication. Is that right, Ravi? Do you remember this?
Yeah, that was one of the things was whenever you add something, you start with whether it's a block of code or whatever, you write your either your Telegram handle or name or something on top, and then when it gets authenticated, we delete it and just kind of integrate it into the body of the code. However, how exactly that happens is something that it's still working on, and if people um, if people have inputs, that'd be much appreciated. I've never really worked with collab before, so maybe there's a better way to go through this either by version control or I'm not sure.
I think the question is more around the end game, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, James, but like that people, when we post this online somewhere, that if two people go to the website at the same time and try to fuck with data, then, you know,
together,
they'll be
yeah.
like battling.
Yeah, so that's again another. I think the best way to do that would just be to save a copy. So maybe we can look into how we speed up that process by maybe including instructions to copy at the top. So the first thing they see is how to copy Google Colab, do this, and then play with it as you will. Maybe that's one of the ways. I mean, eventually, what we should do with all this code is what Marcus did, where all the code is basically hidden, and all you can see is input parameters. You change them, you click, simulate, and it gives you a whole bunch of outputs. I think for the average user, that's what we need to do. And then
So
if somebody wants to mess with the code more, then they can either go to another collab sheet, which we provide a link to, which is a kind of read only, which you copy and I guess again save another copy and use on your own machine or save on your own drive. That kind of thing. That makes sense?
okay. Yeah, but and I think this is a good question that we have noted down. It seems like there's got to be some sort of like, hey, put a copy of it on your drive solution.
Yeah.
But we'll see, because the end goal, what would be nice would be if we could have a front end on a website.
Yes.
And then this is hidden in the back end, but we need to deploy a new one for every single person, maybe, right? So that might be great.
We can discuss it later, I think, because it's we may find a solution, but I see that as something that we first have to see what we want to do.
I completely agree with Sam there.
Yeah.
Completely.
Cool.
There's so many potential answers to that question that I think what James is asking is valid, because that's the answer to the question to what we're currently doing. So I think it makes a lot of sense. But that final end goal, I think, should be open to change.
I did look for examples of front ends that tie into the forms and couldn't really find anything. I didn't look too much, but that's just something to keep in mind. I agree with you, though. We got to focus on the tasks at hand first.
Cool. But it's always good to capture these questions, and putting it in the doc. Okay, so then, Sam, did you have? I guess it seems like the questions that we want to tackle this week are probably mostly the same questions that we had for next week or for last week. The holiday weekend for most of the Americans and the 6-day week, we kind of it went a little slow. But it seems like we have the form thing going, and we should probably stick with that. But the main task is really just to keep pushing on the glossary and keep trying to figure out what inputs and outputs. Is there anything else that would probably help people get in on this? Should we have like maybe another call sometime this week and just like go over the questions in the code, and that's the only point of the call, is just to like talk through some questions?
Do we want to maybe set up I guess we can have the questions at the bottom of this document. Just have a section placed where people can just put questions in, and then anyone can go in there and put an answer. So we don't have to wait till the end, till midweek to have a call. We can do it on the fly.
Yeah.
I am still understanding the code and the simulations and all that stuff. And the articles around bonding curves and the augmented bonding curve has been quite useful. Mostly the part on the formulas of the bonding curves.
Yeah.
And did you see the conviction voting Google Doc with all the math for conviction voting as well?
No. What is it?
This is in resources. It's called Basic Math Overview of the 3 Flows within CV.
Is it a Google Doc?
It's a Google Doc, yeah.
Okay, I didn't see that.
We never made a deep dive into conviction voting. It just didn't hit it because it's iteration 3. It hasn't hit our like agenda, like to-do list. But this, I think, this is the best like deep dive there.
Okay, I'll take a look on that. And for the sake of completeness, should we add the rest of the variables that maybe are not? I didn't find them in the code, but I think that they are important for having them in mind. Like there is an initial price here.
Yeah, there's the post-hatch price, which I think ends up being calculated by theta and kappa and initial price, and the raise.
Okay.
So like it's really interesting, but some variables are derivatives.
Dependent of the other. Okay.
Yeah.
It is calculated with the initial supply, and right?
Yeah, exactly.
With the initial supply. Okay. And in the case of conviction voting, so I delete it. And in the case of conviction voting, we should also have into account the alpha and the weight, maybe.
Yeah.
Hey Sam, what is how is alpha defined?
Alpha is a number between 0 and 1.
Okay.
And it is the decay, which means that for each amount of time that something has been, a token has been staked, this is the amount of conviction that is going to be be there. I'm sorry because my English is not quite good, but it is the amount of conviction that keeps there after one amount of time.
Okay, so it's say for every increment of time that a token is staked, the amount of conviction associated with that token is increased by alpha or decreased by alpha, depending on how you define alpha.
Yes.
It's always decreased.
What? Decreased or increased?
Decreased. So
well,
it's
if you stake it for longer, isn't it increased? Doesn't it increase?
So the equation is conviction at conviction at t equals alpha times conviction at t minus 1 plus the number of tokens
that are staking at the moment
right now at t. So you add the number of tokens and you multiply the old conviction by a fraction.
Right. Okay.
And then it's kind of weird. But yeah.
So it's like it's a decay factor of some sort, right?
Yeah. Z always calls it a forgetting rate. I don't know. He likes the biomimetic.
Z likes his jargon, doesn't he?
Yeah. Definitely. Okay.
And also we have another parameter that is static, that it's called weight, or I don't remember the Greek letter for that, but weight is okay, which means it is used for the threshold formula.
This is the W in front of the log?
Yes.
Is that right? Yeah. So this will allow you to do sort of a minimum quorum, basically.
So what is that?
So maybe we should just go into this conviction math, conviction voting module, and it has all these things defined. Let me just put this in the Jitsi. Oh, I'm putting two things in the Jitsi. First thing is the Lumio link. I don't think we have anything to vote on today, but for later, join the Lumio so we can vote on stuff. And then Google Docs. Here, this is the conviction voting map.
Wow, it's super cool to have that. Actually, I think that the formula has been changed in the conviction 3 module. It is not this formula. It's another one that it's not using the log.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think I remember this conversation. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's okay. We can change that.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. The log, it gets difficult, right? So you'd use an approximation of the log.
Yeah, but I prefer the log. Well, of course we can. It is better not to use that, but the formula that is shown with the log is more smooth than the one that doesn't use it.
Yes, it's very elegant, and this W, I think it's actually more like an omega, like a lowercase omega, but it's or whatever that Greek letter is. It basically makes it so that when the vote if the amount is very small, it still requires a certain amount of votes. So like, because conviction voting, the amount of conviction you need is dependent on how much money you're asking for. So if you ask for $1, well then maybe you don't need any votes, right? Like you just need one vote. But that's an attack, right? I could just keep asking for $1 a million times and just get all the money out. So you probably want to have a W there that acts as min quorum.
And also it happens in the on the contrary, because it's actually a factor, and it can also be 0.02, for example. Like to make the threshold go be less, so the formula is working. I'm sorry today. I'm not very good at explaining, but I mean it's a factor that usually in the things that I've seen it's 0.02. I mean, it is to lower the threshold to an amount that people can request funds.
Yeah, it's a trigger function, right?
Yeah.
So it seems like I'm looking at this conviction voting module, and it looks like it's W, which is a weight factor. It says could be from quorum to help if there is voter apathy, for instance. So you can potentially change that if you find that because of voter apathy, your rate of proposals passing is too slow or something else. You can change that in order to decrease the trigger threshold. That's what it seems like it here. I might be wrong.
Cool. Okay. Well, I think that we have, for the most part, the same questions we have was last week. I want to make sure that, does anyone want, I assume everyone wants to keep their names next to the questions they had?
Yes.
Yes.
And yeah, and I think that's pretty much it. Was there any other questions that anyone wanted to tackle this week that's not on here already?
I just think so much learning needs to happen before we can productively contribute. I feel like everyone has one of three skill sets, at least one of three skill sets necessary to do active, actively participate in making changes. I think the other two bases need to be filled up, and either understand the model or understand the programming or the maths. And I think it might be a week before we can even come up with more long-term questions or new questions. I think I'm okay with working on what I had last week for sure.
Yeah. And I like this glossary as like also a place where we might need to ask a lot of questions in the Google Doc. I like that idea, Ravi. Just kind of putting questions that we have at the bottom, because I think most of the questions will probably be like, what the hell is this?
Right. Yes. Yeah.
Uh,
A lot of it could just be solved by linking to the right article or a piece that you guys have already written.
Hey, Griff, speaking of things that are written, are you, you say you have a lot of secret documents. I know you were just kidding, but so is there a plan for what's being written? And the reason I ask that is because the way I think is by writing. So I don't think you probably want people out there just writing willy-nilly posts about Common Stack. But for me, one way to understand conviction voting math in this thing here is to write, even for myself, to explain what the math is. Are you interested in that, or do you guys have some kind of plan that you're working on?
I will invite you to the comms room, and I think Jeff might have a starter on that, but I think he would be totally down to collaborate.
Yeah.
And and dive in. And what would be interesting is the original math that we use to derive the formulas, then versus the math that actually goes into cadCAD. They're very different. So
yeah, and I love writing about math. I'll write about math all day long. So, and it helps me understand as well.
Yeah, I think that would be great, and I'll just add you to the comms room right now.
I have a question. There are lots of simulations in the cadCAD. Sorry, in the collab. And should we show? I'm sorry. Should we select some of them to show, or should we show all of them? Or I'm still not understanding if we should do something that is very understandable, or we should show everything as much as we can.
I think in the final one, in the final solution, we want to keep it simple, right? It's supposed to like be inviting, and the user, if the user leaves confused, they're not going to be happy, right?
Yeah.
We want the user to leave understanding the situation. So we will need to choose very specific outputs and make sure they're well described.
Okay, yeah. And are we trying to do something similar to the simulations that you are already have done with the augmented bonding curve and the conviction voting together as something that is more or less similar to them? Like you set up the parameters of the bonding curve and the conviction voting and run a simulation and see what happens. Like, because the parameters that are rising are the parameters of the bonding curve and also the conviction voting. But
I think we'll find there are more parameters that don't relate with these guys, such as the agent modeling, the agent's behaviors and their sentiment, right? And
they are very dependent on the on each simulation.
Yes.
They can be, right? I mean, this is the thing. The agents themselves also have. I know they have at least 2 variables that we can change, so that we could say, oh, yeah, what if you get a whole bunch of like people who don't like to vote, for instance? You know, like these are the agents' behaviors are also something that we can simulate. So, or that we our assumption that we put in there. So I think there are things that are outside of conviction voting and augmented bonding curves hidden in this code that we need to identify and then decide what's interesting for the user and what will make people interested in modeling cryptoeconomic like things, right? Like that's because in the end that's our real goal. We want to like show people, hey, this cadCAD is modeling, the future economies of the world, and this is some of the stuff that you need to think about, and that might just be interesting. It might kind of like make people think, and understand cadCAD.
I mean, the one thing, on one hand, I do get what you're saying, Griff, but I think Sam has a point, particularly if we already have, um, the simulations, the JavaScript simulations for the augmented bonding curve and the conviction voting, and if those are what people who will eventually use a CV3 model look at first, I think there has to be some kind of synergy between the two. Even if we have additional parameters for agent-based behavior, and that could be like, oh look, the sum of parts, the whole is greater than the sum of parts, which is fantastic. But I do think the output should, in some way, mirror what each of the ABC and the CV modules currently have. Just for consistency's sake. Um, that's my thought.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have to first identify what things are possible, and then decide from there what makes sense. Because I don't know what outputs are even there. Like, it may not make sense to give people a lot of inputs for bonding curves if there's no outputs to describe how they change, how they affect things. So it's and like you guys were saying, we need to spend this week and last week and this week just wrapping our heads around what the hell is going on in this thing.
Absolutely. Because I'm pretty sure Andrew has no idea either, to be completely honest, like big picture stuff, because it was so long ago. So I asked him a bunch of questions, and there were a lot of question marks in his replies. So I think we're on our own in some sense.
Yeah. Well, okay. So we have the same questions as last week. We spend the week trying to dive into this code again, and we see what we pull out. And let's see. I think I lost the doc.
Just really quick, can I add something? I think it's going to be necessary to have a process for saving and overwriting changes. Maybe not yet, as we're just playing around with it, but as more and more people join and start making more significant changes, I don't want to get somebody's update overwritten and have a lot of confusion around that. So I don't know if that should involve Lumio or just everyone making a copy, saving that on their own drive, and then syncing up weekly on the calls, or
I think that's probably a good bet, is just a weekly sync, and you have a sync champion, someone who's basically in charge of syncing everything up.
I don't know, man. I worry that seems like more work. Like, at least for this week, what are you worried about? Like, overwriting? Because if we collab right in it.
Well, I just realized in this call that my changes weren't visible to all of you, so I had to save and overwrite some people's changes, and I don't even know what those were. I don't want to mess anything up in the future by saving and overwriting changes, so I thought maybe we should just have a structured process for
that sounds like a pretty important thing to figure out sooner rather than later.
I mean, it didn't overwrite any of my changes. Ravi was the last person to edit. I mean, like if I start typing right there a bunch of gibberish, like everyone sees it, right?
No, I don't think so.
And it also and there is also a history in the collab. So it is a kind of guide, more or less, that you can go and see what has changed and also revert the changes.
Well, I mean, ultimately, if we do version control, who's going to do that version control? So even if that's how we take care of making sure that everything is done properly, somebody is still in charge of that. Whether that's a weekly thing or I don't know.
On the other hand, we are not going to change a lot, right? It's just commenting, or I lost something.
Yeah, it's just a thought to keep in mind going forward. Maybe not a concern yet, but I did want to mention it.
I'll just jump in. There's an option there called File Download Collab, and it opens directly into my Visual Studio Code. So I now have Collab in my Visual Studio Code, and it's able to run the Collab in my Visual Studio Code. So just playing around, I would suggest that none of us play around, because I was actually playing around and I think I changed a comment or something. And it told me that it wanted to save. So I just quit out without saving. But just as a suggestion, you can download it pretty easily and play. And then I'll probably never change the code, but I definitely want to play around with it.
Well, I mean, but you do want to add comments in the code, right?
Yeah, but I think maybe that might have to be through some kind of GitHub repo or something like that, just to avoid the possibility of people writing over each other's stuff. Unless well, maybe I'll spend time looking at Colab, and it seems to me that they would have solved that problem in Colab.
Yeah.
Because if Colab lets people write over each other's code, that feels really bad. So I doubt that that's.
Yeah, I mean, like, do you guys see, like, on the third line, I just put a bunch of gibberish, like, just now? Is it all?
I think you have to save it.
There is also the option to save a copy on GitHub gist or save a copy in GitHub.
Yeah,
So
it seems
you-
like it goes through revision history, but you can't see updates unless you save. I don't think it should be a big problem. I just wanted to mention it, just in case somebody makes a change after you, and then you overwrite what they do.
Okay, I just imagined this was like Google Docs, where when you make a change, everyone sees it.
Only if you save.
Only if you save. Okay.
At least that's what I think. Based on this call, my changes weren't visible.
Griff, why don't you add a line of code below the gibberish you entered without saving it? See what happens.
Add a line of code?
Add just some gibberish. Underneath the
Add more
gibberish, then you
gibberish.
add more gibberish.
I can add lots of gibberish. Oh my gosh. So I'm gibbering like wild, guys.
So I can see your edit in the revision history, but it's not showing up.
Yeah.
On
the
main document.
Right.
Oh wow. So you have to save.
Now I see it.
Yeah, I just hit save.
But it does keep it. It had all your past revisions in the history. So if you wanted to save those, I think they would still be available to you, and it wouldn't mess with your updates. So I think it's less of a problem than I thought, but it's just a little bit different than Google Docs.
Yeah, were my comments in there above theta, kappa, and initial price? Were those in there before?
I'm not sure which comments.
I see them. Yeah.
These ones where it's theta is a percentage of funds raised during the hatch, initial price is the amount of DAI. Kappa is the exponential relationship.
No, I don't see that. Those. I see some Siberians
And then like,
after the import network X.
what about above default theta, default initial price?
Yeah, I saw those earlier today when I made the changes.
Okay, because I don't remember ever saving yet. Those were in there.
Weird. I'm not sure how it works, but it's definitely something to keep in mind.
I think what's probably going to happen is we're going to somebody's going to overwrite somebody's work, and then we're going to say, oh, we better figure this out at some point.
Yeah, I'm worried that I overwrote what Ravi did because I don't see it in the revision history now.
Did that happen, Ravi? Did yours get disappeared?
Let me just check. Let me see what. Yeah, this is quite a hefty piece of code, I have to say. Let me just check. Let me check my work.
Oh yeah, it says save failed. The notebook has been
Yes.
changed outside of the session.
Yep. It was changed. Yep. Yeah.
Sorry about that.
No, that's
Well,
okay. The changes are fairly simple to make. So
I have to believe that other people that are using Colab have solved this problem,
that
so
is
there's
true.
definitely a solution.
Well, maybe that's one of the.
I would guess the same.
Maybe that's one of the lessons that we do this week. Figure out how to.
Yeah.
I mean, it's in the name of the product, right? Collaborative. So you're supposed to be able to do it.
Yeah.
It should work to collaborate.
So does anyone want to take that as a question? Like how the strategy for us collaborating on Google Colab?
Yeah, I'll do that. And along with that, maybe I can, well, I'm happy to collaborate with anybody who's interested in helping. But
Yeah, I would like to help with that.
I think it'd be good to have an explanation at the top that says, like, if you want to make changes, copy to your draft, and wait and make a proposal to sync up on a regular basis.
Till we finalize that, would you guys consider just making changes on local or on separate versions, and then when the call comes next week, we just kind of do a dump and resave it, or do we not want to go through that process? I'm not a big fan of that, honestly, and I hope somebody has a better idea. But this is a idea. This is one idea.
I would say there's only 5 of us. The odds that if we are quick on the save button,
fair enough.
The odds that we screw it up, like maybe we make sure we close the tab, reopen the tab, and be quick on the save button until we figure out the best solution.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah, fair enough.
I just don't want to make work for volunteers. Like no one wants to do the lame bureaucracy.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Okay, cool. Well, hey, we're 10 minutes over. Just let's do a quick closing round. Thank you, guys. I totally understand that. I hope no one's discouraged by our overestimation of our capabilities to dive into this code last week. Like we have a decent chunk of time to dive into this, and it seems like we're ahead of the game. So Google Colab is more powerful than I thought it was, and I think that we're going to end up with a really good product by the end of this. We've got to figure out what the hell is going on. So thanks for coming, guys. I'll pass it to Ravi.
Okay, so this coming week is just going to be reading through the code. It's my target to go through the entire body of code by the end of this week, and by next Monday, I want to at least have documentation done for at least 3/4 of the code. That's my end goal, and I'm really excited to see how. I'm excited about working with James to figure out how we can do this version control. And also, I've been chatting with Berlin from Block Science about what they've been doing with Colab. So I'm looking to see if they have some lessons learned that we could maybe pass around. And I want to do that maybe by mid this week. Maybe type up a little document and distribute it to people about how Block Science is currently doing it and how we can maybe change that, improve that, or take control lessons from it. The roadblocks for this week are just the amount of work that I will have to do outside my day job because this is we're coming up to the end of the year, and a lot of budgeting needs to be done, resource allocation, things like that. So there is a chance that I will be able to do a little less than I initially anticipated, but I hope to work around that, especially on the weekends. And yeah, I'm gonna pass it on to I'm gonna pass it on to James.
Sure. Don't have much to add. I'm excited to keep making progress and identify the variable parameters we need to focus on, and looking forward to seeing this come together. I'll pass it to Jay.
Yeah, I'm really excited actually to start digging into like the math and the way the code works. So I'm going to do that this week. I just posted a link to a document that says Google Colab is designed to integrate cleanly with GitHub, allowing both loading notebooks and saving them to GitHub. So I'm sure we can solve that problem too. And I'll, I don't know how I can help there, but I'm sure there's a problem for that or a solution for that. I'm really interested in just reading, writing, and thinking about all this stuff, and I'm excited to do that. I'll pass it to, is it Nelson? Yeah, Nelson. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still very excited, and I think we're making slow but steady progress, and I think that way we're gonna get things done. On my side, I don't know yet. Like, things are still not stable in terms of time, so I don't know how much time I will be able to allocate. But don't hesitate to ping me or ask me a question, and even like sometimes we have ideas, and it's good to have a mirror to talk back. So yeah, don't hesitate to reach out. I'll pass it to everyone's done, no? Sam, I think you have not gone.
I am the last one.
Yeah.
And well, I think that we are learning a lot on those interesting things. And I am also quite happy with that.
Nice. Well, thanks, guys. Obviously, it seems like we're going to have a mix of questions in the Telegram chat and questions in the Google Doc for the glossary, just at the bottom. So feel free to put your question wherever you want in either one of those, and we'll hang out. We'll continue to hack on this throughout the week. See you guys.
Sounds good.
Bye.
And if anybody has any bottlenecks, just reach out to me. My purpose is to facilitate. So I'll try my best to connect you guys to the right resources.
Robbie.
Any what? Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
I said if you have any bottlenecks, any lack of information, if you're not getting some resources that you'd like, reach out and I will try to connect you to the right person.
So Robbie, now I know
Awesome.
now I know who to look for.
Yes. Will we still on for breakfast?
Yes, Saturday. Yep. See you then.
All right, perfect.
Take care.
All right, bye guys.
Bye, guys. See ya.
Bye.